everybody, and welcome to warm and sunny Australia. Hello everybody, clearly it's not warm and sunny here in Australia. It actually feels like the UK in November. Anyway, welcome. This video is sponsored by Lumix. I use Lumix cameras and lenses exclusively, so if you're interested in new gear, go and check them out. Interestingly, maybe, if you've been watching this channel for the last few months, I've been travelling a lot, as you'll know, and I've been using bags of this size, about 30-35 litres, to carry all of my camera equipment in my hand luggage. So stuff for stills, stuff for videos, so like microphones, cameras, lenses, filters, tripods, drones, tides coming in. All that stuff in a bag like this, so I can walk through an airport with a bag on one shoulder, knowing that all of my stuff, including a laptop, is on a shoulder, and it's not being dealt with by baggage handlers, which I'm sure many of you know is not always a pleasant experience. And I can only get away with that because I use Micro Four Thirds equipment, and yeah, that's one of the biggest perks I find being a kind of travel-ish photographer. So, speaking of travel, if you watched my last video, I don't need this bag on now actually, it's still quite heavy. So yeah, speaking of travel, my last video, I don't know if you saw it, but I filmed it in Iceland, and at the end of that video I said something to the effect of, and yeah, in the next video I shall be at home in the UK where hopefully it's a little bit less windy. So yeah, here we are in Australia. Basically what happened is I did try and film a video back in the UK. Problem was, I only gave myself about 3 hours to do it, and more importantly, I was looking for a kind of photo that I didn't really get either. So long story short, I won't bore you with the details, but I've been super busy recently. We've just moved house, I've been doing lots of travelling, lots of work, all that kind of stuff. And basically what that amounted to was that for personal work, I had a period of about 3 hours where I could go and try and get an autumnal photo. I had this trip coming up, so I was worried that by the time I get back to the UK, all the leaves will have gone and I'll have missed all of autumn. And that would have been a bit sad, so I wanted to give myself 3 hours, and I was looking at the forecast to work out what 3 hours that should be. I'm going to get taken out by a wave in a minute. But yeah, I was looking at the forecast to work out what 3 hours that should be, that I should go and try and take this photo or these photos. And I was looking for the cloudiest, moodiest day. Basically these conditions. And that's because when you've got trees that are nice and vibrant, you don't need incredible light too. You want the trees to be the focus. You want them to be the story. So I didn't want any kind of sunrise or sunset or midday sun or anything like that. I just wanted grey skies. And I went out on a day which supposedly was going to be entirely grey skies. You can probably guess what happened. The sun's back. I ended up not getting any photos, and because I was angry at my weather apps, I didn't get a video either because I couldn't really concentrate and I wasn't making much sense and I wasn't finishing takes and all that kind of stuff. So all in all, it was a pretty shoddy day. The reason that I'm telling you this is because a couple of months ago when I was in Italy, I did an Instagram story about Q&A that I was going to do, and there was a prize. I got loads of amazing questions, filmed the video a couple of weeks after that, but a lot of the best questions I got after I'd done the filming, which is entirely my fault. I should have said when I was going to do the filming. Anyway, I'm waffling on. One of the questions I got after I'd filmed that video was, what do you think is the worst habit in photography? And to me, the worst habit in photography is what I did after that day in the UK where I failed to get any photos or videos, which was, I blamed the weather app. Blaming weather apps is not what I think is the worst habit. Basically, I think the worst habit is blaming stuff other than yourself when you don't get the results you want. And when you're an outdoor photographer specifically, there are always so many things you can blame. You can blame your gear, you can blame the weather, you can blame people, you can blame wildlife, you can blame your location, you can blame the time of year. You can blame anything and everything other than yourself if you want to. And for a long time, I did that, and I still do, naturally. I have to really, really work hard to remind myself that more often than not, if things don't go to plan, it's my fault. For example, in the UK, I gave myself 3 hours to go and get a photo I was happy with. Clearly that's not long enough. It was my fault. I should have had a plan B day, I should have had a plan C day, I should have had other times when I could go out if the weather didn't play ball, and I didn't. That's not the weather's fault, that's my fault. And over the years, I've blamed myself maybe a handful of times when I should have blamed myself hundreds of times for not getting the results I want. And a lot of the time it's led to me getting new equipment, a lot of the time it's led to me writing off locations entirely. It's ridiculous, and the trouble with doing that is that you can replace lenses, you can replace cameras, you can replace all that stuff. But if you don't blame yourself, you never develop your most important piece of gear, which is your brain. So yeah, I say all of that to say that I think the worst habit in photography by far is not blaming yourself when things go wrong and allowing yourself off the hook by blaming any other number of things. And if you allow yourself to do that, then in the short term you'll be happier because you'll think that things aren't your fault. But in the long term, you won't develop as quickly as you can. And I found that as soon as I stopped allowing myself to blame other stuff and I started really looking at what I was doing wrong when things were going wrong, that's when I started really improving. And it's not just me, I've seen it with lots and lots of other photographers, and to be honest, lots of other professions. It's just that in photography, we have a lot of stuff that we can blame. And if you're anything like me, naturally you'll do it. So yeah, there we go. Today actually is also a prime example of this. I've had 2 weeks in Australia to make this video, and I'm making it on the last day that we're here. I wanted it to be sunny, I wanted it to be 30 degrees, I'm going home to the Northern Hemisphere tomorrow. I'd have quite liked to film a video in the sunshine, and as much as I'd love to blame the Australian weather gods, it's definitely my fault. Anyway, what am I doing here in Australia? Basically last week Emily and I did a road trip around Victoria, and that'll probably be the next video. I made a vlog about it. I think I made a vlog about it. I haven't checked any of the footage, but hopefully I've made a vlog about it. So yeah, that'll be next. And we've come to Sydney for a few days because, well, just for a holiday really. Emily and I used to live here. We lived here for about a year, 18 months, something like that. And to be honest, I spent the last few days struggling to remember why we left. It's a bit easier to remember this morning. This might as well be the UK. But yeah, when the sun's out and I'm attempting to surf, I do wonder. Never mind. Right, thank you for watching. The next video won't be in the UK. Like I said, the next video will be my Victoria road trip. The video after that will probably be in the UK. Probably. Right, the tide's definitely coming in.